When doing an everyday task like taking your groceries out of the crinkly brown bag or changing your child's diapers, do you ever stop and wonder who came up with the idea? Well, the books will tell you an upper-class man did, but that isn't always the truth. And if we take a look into many big, world-changing inventions, you can often find that the he who invented it was actually a she. But why is this a pattern, and how can we break it? First, to get an idea of some of the many cases of this, and truly many, I mean it happens every day, let's talk about a few. Starting off strong, we have Rosalind Franklin. She was the discoverer of the double helix. No, not the piercing, the simply put, because I'm no scientist, structure of DNA. When you hear about this insane discovery, you hear about James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick, who are famously known as the Cambridge University scientists who made the discovery. Rosalind was a chemist and an X-ray crystallographer who had been active in DNA research at King's College in London. In 1951, she produced an image that would change science forever. Unfortunately, a coworker of hers showed the picture to James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick. They published it all in 1953, and it gave barely any reference to Rosalind. The two men got a Nobel Prize in 1958, 4 years after Rosalind Franklin had passed away. This led to her not getting any of the credit she deserves, and society clumping in the two men with the discovery of the double helix. The second genius woman I will talk about today is Hedy Lamarr. Lamarr was a Hollywood actress who worked with the military to add a pep of step. She worked with a composer named George Thiel to create the first radio guidance system for troops. But when they showed their invention to the Navy disappointedly showed no interest. Were they actually interested? Yes, of course they were. The gentleman in charge stole the idea, and in the 60s, they started using it in military weapons. Hedy Lamarr and George Thiel's work was the base technology for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth tech. But of course, when those important things are talked about, the Navy is credited. Well, there are hundreds of examples. The last one I'll be talking about today is Candace Pert and her neuroscience. Candace found the receptor in the brain that allows opioids to stay in the brain. This discovery was incredibly big for science and the medical field. So, of course, Dr. Snyder at Johns Hopkins University, her professor, got the award. Candace wrote a letter to the committee to call them out for not giving her any of the credit, and Dr. Snyder replied saying, "That's just how the game is played." Unfortunately, all the way to the beginning of history, this is a trend. So for a second, let's talk a bit about why this isn't really being talked about. According to CNBC, nearly 30% of men say progress toward gender equality has come at their expense. So is this overlooked because men don't want to lose their credibility and power? Well, that's certainly a part of it. Without the background knowledge of all the women who made the achievements, at first glance, it looks like men have accomplished more. So society assumes that men will accomplish more in the work field. Now, this is a weird norm because according to CNBC, quote, women make up nearly half the entry-level workforce, but comprise only a fifth of the C-suite and just 7.4% of Fortune 500 CEO seats. Now, this is strange because women make up about 60% of earned bachelor and master's degrees. So if this is all true, and the qualified researchers say it is, then why are women still not given the same opportunities and general credit as men? Well, because all those years that society has acted like women were unfit for the workplace has affected who gets to be successful in the workplace. Studies show that men are hired based on how much they can grow and learn, so essentially their potential. Women, on the other hand, are hired based on what they've already accomplished and what they've contributed. So that mindset right there explains it all. And if we go back to the history of women's credit and work being stolen by men and use that same concept, we can understand that at first glance, it looks like men can do more and women stay less accomplished. So this is why we need to take a look into our history and science and inventions and ask ourselves where this really came from. Because I promise you that you will be amazed by the female potential all around you and the female potential that has always been around us. Thank you.